though his own voice shook. "We represent all of Earth today." The doors hissed open. The aliens entered the meeting chamber. Robert had seen the pictures, had studied them for weeks, but nothing prepared him for seeing them in person. The first alien stood nearly 8 feet tall, with a body covered in dark purple armor plating. 6 legs supported its weight, and 4 arms ending in delicate fingers held various devices. Its head had multiple eyes that moved independently, watching everything at once. The second alien was stranger still. It looked like a living statue made of clear crystal, shaped roughly like a human but with geometric patterns running through its body. Light seemed to move inside it, and when it spoke, the sound was like music, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The third alien floated inside a large tank of water that moved with it. The creature inside looked something like an octopus, with flowing tentacles and skin that shifted colors constantly. "Humans of Earth," the tall purple alien said through a small device that translated its clicking sounds into English. "I am Ambassador Velcrin of the Valix people. We bring greetings from the Galactic Coalition of Civilized Worlds." Robert stepped forward and extended his hand. The alien jerked backward, all 6 legs shuffling away. The other aliens also moved back. "I apologize," Robert said quickly, lowering his hand. "Among my people, this is how we greet each other. A gesture of peace." "Understood," Velcrin replied, though he kept his distance. "We have observed your planet from orbit for several months. We must ask you a question, Ambassador Hayes. How did your species survive?" Robert frowned. "I don't understand what you mean." The crystal alien chimed softly. "Your planet Earth registers as a Class 12 death world on our scale. Only a handful of planets in known space are so dangerous. The gravity on your world is nearly twice what most species can tolerate for extended periods. Your weather patterns produce storms with wind speeds that would tear our ships apart. Your oceans contain predators of enormous size. Your land has creatures with venom, claws, and teeth designed to kill. And your atmosphere," the water-dwelling alien added, its colors flashing red and orange. "You breathe oxygen in high concentrations. Do you know that oxygen is corrosive? It is toxic to most forms of life. Your entire planet is saturated with it." Emma spoke up. "But oxygen is necessary for us to live. We breathe it every moment." "Exactly," Velcrin said quietly. "You breathe poison and call it life. You live on a world that would kill most of us within days, perhaps hours. This is what we do not understand." Robert looked at the 3 aliens and realized something. They were not just curious. They were frightened. "We call Earth home," he said simply. "It's all we've ever known." The next few hours passed in careful conversation. The humans offered water to their guests. The aliens tested it with devices and informed them that the dissolved minerals in Earth water would be toxic to all 3 species. Robert offered to share a meal. The protein content alone, they said, would trigger fatal allergic reactions. Captain James Mitchell entered during a break in the talks. He carried a steaming cup of coffee and took a long sip. "What is that dark liquid?" the crystal alien asked. "Coffee. It's a drink we make from beans. Helps us stay awake and alert." "You consume stimulants voluntarily?" Velcrin's voice rose in pitch. "That cup contains enough alkaloid compounds to kill a Valix. You drink this regularly?" James shrugged. "I usually have 5 or 6 cups a day. Sometimes more if I'm working late." The aliens went silent. Emma watched their reactions and felt suddenly uneasy. These were advanced civilizations, species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. And they were looking at humans like they were monsters. Later that day, technician Tom Baker was repairing a damaged power coupling in the station's engineering section. An alien crew worked nearby, carefully monitoring the systems. Without warning, a plasma conduit ruptured. Blue light flooded the room. The alien screamed and ran for cover. Tom stumbled backward, blinking rapidly. "Damn, that was bright. Are you injured?" A Valix medical officer rushed toward him with scanning equipment. "Do not move. You have been exposed." "Exposed to what?" "Gamma radiation. 40 rads. You need immediate medical treatment." Tom looked down at himself. "I'm wearing a protective suit. Most of it got blocked. I maybe absorbed 5 rads? 10 at most? I'll get checked out, but I should be fine." The medical officer's antennae drooped. 5 rads would put most coalition species in a hospital for weeks. 10 rads would be lethal to the Brelin. That evening, Robert was asked to attend an emergency meeting. He entered to find all 3 alien ambassadors in heated discussion. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Velcrin turned all 6 eyes toward him. "Ambassador Hayes, we need to understand something. Your people evolved on a world that kills. You consume poisons for pleasure. You withstand radiation that would destroy us. Your bodies are built to survive conditions that would be fatal to most known species. He paused. What are you? Robert considered the question for a long moment. We're human, he finally said. We adapt. We survive. It's simply what we do. 6 months had passed since first contact. The Galactic Coalition decided to hold joint military training exercises with Earth's forces. They wanted to see how humans would perform compared to other species in the galaxy. Station Ajax, a massive military facility orbiting a distant moon, would host the trials. Sergeant Kate Morgan stood with her squad of 20 human Marines as shuttles arrived carrying alien soldiers. She watched as the Valix troops marched out in perfect formation, their armor gleaming. Then came the Mindari, their crystal bodies refracting light in beautiful patterns. Finally, the Zephlon emerged, walking on 4 legs and carrying advanced weapons that hummed with energy. They look impressive, Private Jack Turner muttered beside her. So do we, Kate replied. Stand tall. The training began with various tests. In the strength trials, the Valix soldiers lifted weights that would crush a human. Their 6 legs and 4 arms gave them incredible power. Kate's squad could not compete in raw strength. In the intelligence tests, the Mindari solved complex mathematical problems in seconds. Their crystalline minds processed information faster than any human computer. Kate's squad scored average at best. In the weapons technology demonstrations, the Zephlon showcased energy rifles that could punch through solid steel. Their targeting systems never missed. The human weapons looked primitive by comparison. We're getting destroyed in every category, Jack whispered to Kate during a break. The day's not over, Kate said quietly. Trust me. The final test was announced late in the afternoon. Commander Threkin, a massive Valix who led the coalition forces, stood before all the assembled troops. The endurance trial will test your ability to operate under sustained physical stress, he announced. You will march 50 kilometers across rough terrain while carrying full combat gear. This simulates a forced march to a combat zone. The estimated completion time is 8 hours. Kate smiled. Jack saw her expression and grinned too. The other humans began to look more confident. The march began. Hundreds of soldiers from different species started together, moving across the rocky landscape of the moon's surface. The gravity here was slightly lower than Earth's, but the terrain was brutal. Rocks, craters, and steep hills made every step a challenge. At the 5-kilometer mark, everyone still looked strong. The Valix moved with mechanical precision. The Mindari glided smoothly. The Zephlon loped along on their 4 legs. The humans jogged at a steady pace. At 10 kilometers, some of the smaller species began to fall behind. At 15 kilometers, the Valix started to slow down. Their heavy armor, which gave them such strength, now became a burden. Their breathing grew labored. Permission to rest, a Valix soldier requested. Granted, Commander Threkin replied, though he sounded surprised. The Valix were supposed to be among the strongest species in the coalition. At 20 kilometers, the Mindari began to struggle. Their crystalline bodies, so efficient at thinking, were not designed for sustained physical activity. They overheated in the thin atmosphere. One by one they stopped, their inner light dimming as they conserved energy. The humans continued jogging. They had not changed pace once. At 30 kilometers, the Zephlon began to drop out. Despite their 4 legs, they were sprinters, not distance travelers. Their muscles cramped and spasmed. They collapsed on the rocks, unable to continue. Commander Threkin, who had been leading the Valix troops, finally stopped at kilometer 35. He stood gasping for air, watching in disbelief as the human squad jogged past him. How? He wheezed. How are you not exhausted? Kate jogged in place beside him. Oh, we're tired, Commander. We're just used to it. At kilometer 40, Private Jack Turner looked back and saw a Valix soldier struggling alone, far behind the others. The alien was crawling, his 6 legs barely able to move. Sergeant, Jack called out. Permission to assist? Kate nodded. Jack turned around and ran back. He reached the Valix soldier and knelt down. Leave me, the alien gasped. I have failed. Nobody fails today, Jack said. He lifted the alien's heavy pack and strapped it to his own back on top of his own gear. Come on. We'll walk together. With Jack's help, the Valix soldier managed to stand. They walked slowly, Jack supporting some of the alien's weight. Why are you not tired? The Valix asked. You carry twice the weight now. You have already traveled 40 kilometers. Why do you continue? Jack thought about it for a moment. Back on Earth, my ancestors used to hunt animals by chasing them. Not for hours. For days sometimes. We would just keep following the animal until it was too exhausted to run anymore. Then we would eat it. We're built for this. Our bodies cool themselves by sweating. Our legs are designed for distance. Our minds can push through pain. We don't give up. Your world made you into pursuit predators, the Valak said with something like awe in his voice. I guess so, Jack replied. We just call it being stubborn. At kilometer 50, all 20 human Marines crossed the finish line. They were sweating and breathing hard, but they were not broken. Some of them were even joking and laughing. Jack crossed the line with the Valak soldier, both of them exhausted but triumphant. Commander Threkin stood at the finish line with the other coalition observers. They had watched everything in silence. Finally he spoke. In strength you are adequate. In intelligence you are average. In technology you are behind. But in endurance. He paused, looking at each human face. You are beyond anything we have ever seen. You simply do not stop. That night, Kate read the official evaluation report. It was only one sentence long. Humans never quit. This makes them dangerous. She smiled and sent a copy back to Earth Command with a message. We passed. 1 year after first contact, the research vessel Nova Dawn traveled through deep space on a scientific mission. The crew was mixed, with humans working alongside aliens for the first time on an extended voyage. The ship hummed with the sounds of different species trying to understand each other. Engineer David Cooper spent most of his time in the engine room. He worked with a maintenance robot that the ship's computer had designated as Unit 47. The robot was simple, designed only to lift heavy objects and perform basic repairs. It had no artificial intelligence, no personality, no consciousness. It was a tool, nothing more. But David did not treat it like a tool. Morning, dummy, David said cheerfully as he entered the engine room on day 15 of the voyage. He patted the robot's metal chassis like someone greeting a dog. Let's check those coolant lines together, okay? The robot beeped once and followed him. David had programmed it to make that sound. Velkrin, the Valak science officer, watched this interaction with confusion. He had seen David do this every day. The human talked to the robot constantly. He had given it a name. He had even painted a crude face on its sensor array using yellow paint from the supply closet. Engineer Cooper, Velkrin said carefully. You are aware that Unit 47 is not sentient, correct? Of course, David replied, adjusting a valve. But dummy works hard. Deserves some respect and a friendly word now and then. It is a machine. It cannot appreciate respect. David shrugged. Maybe not. But I feel better treating him like part of the crew. Velkrin reported this behavior to the ship's captain, Lisa Ward. The human is forming an emotional attachment to equipment. This is concerning. On Valak's ships, tools are tools. We do not name them or speak to them. Lisa sighed. It's a human thing. We get attached to stuff. Cars, ships, computers, robots. Even plants sometimes. It's harmless. Is it? Velkrin was not convinced. The answer came 3 weeks into the voyage. The ship was passing through an asteroid field when the sensors failed to detect a cluster of micrometeors. Dozens of tiny rocks, each no bigger than a grain of sand, struck the ship at incredible speed. They punched through the hull in 17 places. Alarms screamed throughout the Nova Dawn. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Hull breaches on decks 3, 4, and 5, the computer announced. Atmosphere venting. Fire in the engine room. All crew proceed to emergency escape pods immediately. Captain Lisa ran through the corridors, checking each section. The Mindari crew members glided toward the escape pods, their crystalline bodies flashing with alarm. The Zephlons scrambled on their 4 legs, moving quickly toward safety. Cooper, report. Lisa shouted into her communicator. Engine room is on fire, David's voice came back, strained. I can seal the breaches from here, but I need 5 minutes. You don't have 5 minutes? The oxygen is almost gone. Get to the pods now. Dummy is stuck under a fallen beam near the reactor. I can't leave him. Lisa felt ice in her stomach. Cooper, that's a robot. Leave it and evacuate now. That's an order. He's crew, David said, and the communicator went dead. Lisa cursed and ran toward the engine room. The corridor was filled with smoke. She could hear the roar of fire ahead. Through her helmet visor, she saw David in the engine room, trying to lift a massive metal beam that had fallen across the maintenance robot. Cooper, you idiot! Lisa shouted. I can't lift it alone, David gasped. He'll melt when the fire reaches him. It's a machine. He's my friend. Lieutenant Ben Foster appeared beside Lisa. The young officer looked at David struggling with the beam, looked at Lisa, and then ran into the engine room without a word. He grabbed one end of the beam and lifted with David. "Foster, what are you doing?" Lisa shouted. "Helping," Ben grunted. Medical Officer Grace Palmer arrived next. She saw what was happening and joined them without hesitation. Then 2 Valix engineers appeared. They looked at each other, then at the humans risking their lives for a robot, and moved to help. With 6 people lifting, the beam rose enough for David to pull the robot free. "Go, go, go!" Lisa screamed. They all ran for the escape pods as the engine room exploded behind them. 20 minutes later, they floated in space, watching firefighting drones extinguish the flames on the Nova Dawn. The ship was badly damaged but salvageable. Everyone had survived. In the cramped escape pod, David sat with the robot in his lap, checking it for damage. One of its arms was bent. Wires hung loose from its side. But its main processor was intact. "You risked your life for that?" Velcrin asked quietly. "Yes," David said without looking up. "Why?" David finally looked at the Valix. "Because Dummy has been with me every day for a year. He's helped me fix 1,000 things. He's never complained, never quit, never let me down. Maybe he doesn't know I care about him. But I know. And I couldn't leave him behind." Grace Palmer put her hand on David's shoulder. "None of us could." Velcrin was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke slowly. "Humans form emotional bonds with anything. With machines. With creatures. With concepts. This is not logical." "No," Lisa agreed. "It's not. But you will fight for these bonds. You will die for them." "Yes. Even when the bond is with something that cannot reciprocate." "Especially then," David said softly. "Because they depend on us." Back on Station Harmony, the Coalition psychologists received a new report about human behavior. It said, "Humans practice pack bonding with any entity they spend time with. This extends beyond their own species to animals, machines, and even abstract concepts. Once a human has bonded with something, they will defend it with their lives. Consider this carefully when working with humans. Whatever they bond with, they will protect. Make certain your goals align with theirs." The report ended with a warning: do not underestimate human loyalty. It extends far beyond logic or reason. The Coalition Medical Research Facility on Station Nova was the most advanced in known space. Scientists from a dozen different species worked together studying biology, chemistry, and medicine. When humanity joined the Coalition, the facility requested human volunteers for a biology study program. Dr. Helen Price arrived on a cold Tuesday morning. She was a physician from Earth, curious about alien medicine and eager to learn. What she did not expect was to become a research subject herself. "Your biology is fascinating," said the lead researcher, a Mindari named Crystal Lynn. His body chimed softly as he moved, looking at data screens. "And deeply disturbing." Helen laughed. "Disturbing? That's not what most doctors say. You misunderstand. Let me show you." Crystal Lynn pulled up a holographic display. "This is capsaicin. It is a neurotoxin produced by plants on your world as a defense mechanism. It causes pain receptors to activate, creating a burning sensation. Most species avoid it instinctively." "You mean peppers?" Helen reached into her bag and pulled out a small red pepper. "These are jalapenos. Pretty mild, actually." She bit into it and chewed calmly. Every alien in the laboratory backed away from her. Some made alarm sounds. One Valix actually ran from the room. "You consume it willingly?" Crystalline's light flickered with distress. "For pleasure? Sure. Makes food taste better. Some people on Earth eat peppers 100 times hotter than this one." Helen finished the pepper and smiled. "Want to try?" "That would kill me," Crystalline said flatly. "The capsaicin would cause system-wide failure in my neural structure." Helen looked at the pepper in her hand with new understanding. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know." Over the following weeks, the researchers discovered more troubling facts about human biology. Humans consumed caffeine, a stimulant that would cause heart failure in most species. They drank alcohol, literally poisoning themselves for social bonding. They ate fermented foods full of bacteria that would be deadly to others. They consumed salt in quantities that would dehydrate a Brelin. They ate sugar that would throw most species into toxic shock. "Your entire diet is a collection of things that should not be eaten," Crystal Lynn explained to Helen one day. "Yet you thrive on it." "We had to," Helen said thoughtfully. "Earth has limited resources. We learned to eat whatever we could find. Bitter plants, spoiled meat, anything. Our bodies adapted." "Your world made you into poison eaters?" another researcher whispered. The real revelation came when they studied human immune systems. On Earth, humans had evolved alongside countless diseases. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi. The human immune system was not just strong. It was aggressive, constantly ready for war against invaders. Your white blood cells attack foreign bodies immediately, Crystal Lynn observed. They remember every disease you have ever encountered. They create antibodies that remain in your system for years, sometimes for life. This is extraordinary. You don't have that? Helen asked. Our immune systems are adequate for our worlds. But your world produced so many pathogens that your bodies became fortresses. 3 months into the research program, disaster struck. A cargo ship arrived at Station Nova carrying supplies. Hidden in the cargo was a stowaway. A small creature from an unexplored planet, infected with a virus. The creature died within hours, but the virus spread through the station's air systems. The Valaks were the first to fall ill. Within 6 hours they developed high fevers. Within 12 hours they could not breathe. Within 24 hours they began dying. The Mindari lasted longer but suffered terribly. Their crystalline structures cracked and darkened as the virus attacked them. The Zephlon collapsed, their 4 legs unable to support them. Quarantine protocols activated, but too late. 300 aliens were infected across 5 sections of the station. Medical staff tried to enter the contaminated zones wearing protective suits, but the virus was too aggressive. It found ways through the seals. 2 Valaks doctors died trying to treat patients. We cannot reach them, the station commander said desperately. Everyone who enters the quarantine zones becomes infected. They are dying and we can do nothing. Helen stood up from the emergency meeting. I'll go. Dr. Price, you will die like the others. Maybe. Maybe not. Helen looked at Crystal Lynn. Your research showed that human immune systems are different. Let me try. Medic Peter Collins stepped forward too. I'll go with her. This is suicide, the commander said. It's a chance, Peter replied. The only one those people have. Helen and Peter entered the quarantine zone wearing only basic masks. The air was thick with sickness. Aliens lay on the floor, too weak to move, their bodies shutting down. For hours, Helen and Peter moved between patients. They administered fluids, monitored vital signs, kept the dying as comfortable as possible. They waited to feel the first symptoms, the fever that would signal their own infection. It never came. After 12 hours of exposure, Helen felt fine. Peter showed no signs of illness. Their bodies had encountered the virus and destroyed it without them even noticing. How is this possible? Crystal Lynn asked through the communicator. Our immune systems, Helen said, checking a Valak's patient's pulse. We grew up fighting diseases. This virus is nothing compared to what we've survived on Earth. But Helen had an idea. Crystal Lynn, our bodies are producing antibodies right now. Fighting this virus. Can you extract them? Use them to make a cure? If we had samples of your blood, possibly yes. Then take as much as you need. Over the next 2 days, human volunteers donated blood. Scientists worked frantically to isolate the antibodies and create a treatment. 3 humans actually contracted the virus during this time. All 3 developed mild symptoms, slight fevers and fatigue. All 3 recovered completely within 48 hours. The cure worked. Slowly the aliens began to recover. The station's death toll stopped rising. A week later, Helen stood before the Coalition Medical Council. They looked at her with something between gratitude and fear. You walked into certain death and survived, one council member said. You donated your own blood to save species you barely know. Why? Because they needed help, Helen said simply. And we could provide it. The council was quiet. Finally, the eldest member spoke. Humans are walking biological fortresses. Your bodies are weapons against disease. We are adding this to your official files. We prefer to think of them as shields, Helen said. We protect. We don't attack. But she knew the truth. Humanity's death world origin had given them something invaluable. Not just strength or endurance or loyalty, but the ability to survive in conditions that would kill almost anyone else. Earth had tried to kill humans for millions of years. And humans had simply refused to die. 2 years after first contact, war came to the Coalition. The Kreslith Empire attacked without warning, sweeping across border worlds with ruthless efficiency. The Kreslith were logical, methodical, and highly advanced. They calculated every battle before fighting it. They only attacked when victory was mathematically certain. Against the Coalition forces, they won every engagement. The Coalition Council met in emergency session. Their military commanders showed battle reports. Every chart showed red. Every projection showed defeat. "We need help," the council leader admitted quietly. "Does anyone have suggestions?" "The humans," Velcrin said. He had worked with humans for 2 years now. "They are different. Perhaps different enough to matter. They have no advanced weapons. Their technology is centuries behind the Kreslith." "But they have something else," Velcrin insisted. "Something we do not understand. Let them try." Earth sent Colonel Mark Stevens with a battalion of 500 Marines. They arrived at Firebase Omega, a defensive position on the border world of Tanis III. The base sat on a rocky hill overlooking a valley. It was not a strong position. The Kreslith fleet was 3 days away. "This base will fall," the Valak's commander said bluntly. "Our calculations show the Kreslith will overwhelm us in 4 hours once they arrive. We should evacuate." "We're not evacuating," Mark said, studying the terrain. "We're going to hold." "Colonel Stevens, this is not possible. The math is clear." "Math doesn't know everything," Mark replied. He turned to his troops. "Dig in. Prepare every defensive position. Use everything we have." The humans worked for 3 days straight. They reinforced walls, set traps, positioned weapons, created fallback positions. The alien troops watched them work with growing confusion. The humans were preparing to defend a position that could not be defended. The Kreslith arrived exactly on schedule. Their ships filled the sky, blocking out the sun. Dropships descended, deploying thousands of soldiers. Their commander broadcast a message to Firebase Omega. "Defenders, you are surrounded. You are outnumbered 10 to 1. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Resistance is illogical. Your defeat is mathematically certain." Mark picked up the communicator. "This is Colonel Stevens. We're not surrendering. Come and take the base if you can." The Kreslith commander was silent for a moment. "You choose death over logic. So be it." The attack began. Kreslith forces advanced in perfect formation, their weapons firing with precision. The coalition defenders fought back, but the mathematics were against them. Slowly, section by section, the base perimeter fell. 4 hours passed. Firebase Omega still stood. The Kreslith commander could not understand. According to all projections, the base should have fallen already. He sent more troops. The humans fell back to secondary positions and kept fighting. 8 hours passed. 12 hours. 16 hours. Private Anna White found herself in a destroyed bunker with 3 other Marines. Their ammunition was running low. The position was collapsing around them. "We should retreat," one of the Marines said. "To where?" Anna asked. She looked at the fuel cells stacked in the corner, used for powering equipment. "Hand me those cells and some wire." She built a bomb from the fuel cells, using spare parts and a timer from a broken radio. It was crude, but it would explode. She set it near the entrance and the squad pulled back. When Kreslith soldiers entered the bunker, the explosion killed 20 of them. Corporal Henry Black's position was overrun. His squad had no weapons left. He looked around desperately and saw 3 damaged vehicles nearby. He ordered his squad to drag them into position, creating a makeshift wall. They threw rocks at the advancing Kreslith until reinforcements arrived. Lieutenant Rachel Green's communication equipment was destroyed. She could not coordinate with other positions. So she used signal mirrors reflecting sunlight to send messages. Ancient technology, thousands of years old, but it worked. The Kreslith commander watched all of this with growing frustration. The humans fought from positions that should be indefensible. They used broken equipment that should not work. They created weapons from garbage. They refused to surrender even when surrounded. "They are irrational," he reported to his superior. "They do not follow any logical combat doctrine." 20 hours into the battle, the Kreslith commander received new orders. The coalition fleet had arrived. They had reinforcements. But Firebase Omega had held long enough to make retreat necessary. "Request one final assault," the commander asked. "We can still take the position." "Negative. Analysis shows the humans will continue fighting even if we destroy the base completely. They will fight from the rubble. They will fight until every single one is dead. The cost is too high. Withdraw." The Kreslith ships lifted off, leaving Tanis III behind. Colonel Mark sat in what remained of the command bunker. His uniform was torn and burned. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. Around him, his Marines were exhausted, wounded, but alive. Someone had started singing an old Earth song. Others joined in. A Valak's officer approached Mark carefully. "Colonel, how did you do this? Every calculation said you would lose. You should have lost." Mark looked at the setting sun. "Calculations don't account for stubbornness. They don't account for hope. We didn't believe we would lose, so we didn't. But that is illogical. Yeah, Mark smiled. It is. 3 weeks later, the Kreslith Empire sent a message to the coalition. It was brief: avoid military conflict with humans. They do not fight by logic. They fight by will. They refuse to accept defeat even when it is certain. This makes them unpredictable and extremely dangerous. The coalition held a ceremony to formally welcome humanity as protectors of the coalition. The council leader addressed the assembly. You bring no superior technology to us. You have no advanced intelligence compared to other species. What do you bring? Mark stood before them in his dress uniform. We bring stubbornness. We bring hope. We bring loyalty. And we bring the refusal to abandon anyone we consider part of our pack. And the galaxy is your pack now? Mark looked at the assembled species. Valix, Mindari, Brellan, Zephlon, dozens of others. All different. All looking to humanity with something like hope. Yes, he said firmly. It is. Across the coalition, billions of beings